Dude, one of my favorite YouTubers that was also a doctor on YouTube just quit. Zach Highley, man, why'd you do this? I don't want to swear on my channel, but fuck, man. Damn, I'm kind of sad right now. And this is exactly how I feel. Look at this video right here. Look at this sigh. That's how I feel, buddy.
I've quit medicine. I've left medicine.
No way.
This isn't click, but and I'll see you soon.
And I just want to show you this part here. Look at this. So
I hope I recorded this. If I didn't record this, I'm an hour and 40 minutes. Who's gonna watch this? There's
buddy,
no...
I'm gonna be the one watching this. I'm watching this on my Friday night after clinic. And just to show you how I've been following this guy's journey, just look at this. I messaged this guy 3 years ago when he only had 5K followers, okay? I discovered this dude. Look at this. And I messaged him about how to start a YouTube channel and everything. I'm like, hey, my name's Abdul. I've been following your YouTube channel for a while now. You're giving me a lot of value. I'm a first year med student. How do I make YouTube videos? And then this guy gave me some advice. He's like, oh yeah, just, you know, how this guy's putting in work, like putting in an additional 2 hours. He's sacrificing not going out with his friends, you know. And this was January 29, and literally said thank you for replying to me. And then he literally went from 5 to 20K from January 29th to February 2nd. He went 5 to 20K subs. And I gave him congrats. And now he's at 492 subs. Insane, man. But damn, I'm kind of surprised because he was so into medicine, and there's not many doctors that are YouTubing their journey, which is why when people quit, it's, you know, there's a very small group of people that are doing this. I remember when Kevin Jabal, the med school insiders guy, quit. Yeah, and now he's quit. So I watched the entire thing, and like I agree with him on a lot of points, and I can understand why he's quit, which sucks. But yeah, I'm gonna make a proper reaction video tomorrow, but this is just my initial thoughts at this kind of. And I remember watching this guy throughout my med school. Like I watched his famous Anki video. Let me see where it is. It was like the first video that ever popped off. And he'll know, if he watches this, he'll know the Anki beginner deck. And I sent this video to so many people because I was like, dude, you gotta watch this video. This dude breaks down Anki and how to use it because nobody knew how to use it back then. But damn, I'm pretty sad. I mean, good for you, man. I know you're probably like it sounds like you made the right choice in that video, and I'm obviously happy for you. But yeah, I mean, I'll hold my thoughts for. Damn. So Zach made a super long video. We're not gonna get into all of it. It's like an hour and 9 minutes long, but I think there's some key points that we can talk about. So I have it here, and I've written down the timestamps as to which points I want to talk about. But essentially, like, I think it's really important to understand where someone's coming from and why they wanted to do medicine in the first place. And that has a lot to do with purpose and what your purpose is. So I think he talks about it right away at the 2:55 mark right here. So let's do that.
How it affected like real, living, breathing people. So undergrad, I did biomedical engineering. I worked on these really cool projects with goggles that would brighten or darken to change your jet, to like avoid jet lag and stuff like that. I worked on targeting HIV so we could cure HIV forever. And I remember thinking, this is cool. These are things that really could change people's lives like forever. But I realized that in order to make those impacts, in order to be the one doing those things, I needed to be a doctor. I needed to be a doctor. I knew I needed some courses. I knew I needed some more checked boxes, which is really a major annoyance of mine in the setting of getting into medical school and college and everything like that. But that's a whole nother video. So I did it all. I became an EMT. I started volunteering at these different places. I did more research. I checked the boxes. And interestingly, I got better scores and grades than I did in my entire life. Like, I was scoring the best like I ever had in my entire life. And I realized it was because I had purpose. There was something I was going to do next. It was going to become a doctor. I was going to change the world. I was going to do things that people all around the world dreamed of. People were going to need me. I was going to do something amazing. I was going to be among the select few that had that training, that knowledge, and of course had that prestigious doctor in front of my name. I would be Dr. Zach. There was nothing else I was going to do. I couldn't do anything else. But in order to do this, and this is the part that felt insane to me, is I had to take 3 gap years. Imagine that. 3 whole years, nearly an entire college time to just get in to medical school, to just get into this thing that I really wanted to do. Imagine the insane amount of resources that go into this, the insane amount of money, the insane amount of time, the insane amount of opportunity costs that I'm spending just to kind of get into this school, to get into a medical school. That always blows me away, because, you know, other countries and things like that.
That blows me away too. Like, it's insane, the opportunity cost. And 3 years, so he did a 4-year biomedical bachelor's, I guess, and 3 years post-bac, which is basically taking courses to get requirements completed for medical school. So 4 years plus 3 years plus 4 years med school, and then he ends up quitting afterwards. Oh my god. Like, it's so painful to hear that. It's like, the system is messed up, and, you know, maybe we should adopt something like a UK system or Irish system where they can start at age 18, and, you know, by even if medical school is a mistake, you only spent 6 years of your life in it, and you didn't have to spend, you know, your bachelor's, because, you know, you just don't know what a doctor does until you become a doctor and start doing doctor stuff. Like, I think I read a tweet, it was like, med school doesn't train you for residency, being in residency trains you for being in residency. Same with, I think, being a doctor. Like, nobody tells you what is actually the job of it, like what actually being attending is like. So, I mean, it's tough, man. That's so hard to hear. And I'm glad he mentioned something about purpose. Because I feel like that's a huge issue, not just in medicine. A lot of people they don't have a purpose in life. And when you don't have a purpose in life, you make work your purpose, or you make this grandiose idea of solving HIV, or, you know, curing homelessness, or doing something crazy that is, you know, admirable, but it's just like, if you make that your purpose and you don't get it, or you do get it and it doesn't turn out to be what it is, then it's hard to really, you know, go with that. So I was just watching Joe Rogan today, actually, and he had a really good podcast with the founder of Vice News, and he had a lot to say about purpose that I resonated with. All right, let's see. So let's go back here.
To you, it will cause less crime. I think crime will dip substantially. Find purpose already, and then they're like 40, and then that happens, because they're going to be sad, and that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the people that are already sort of indoctrinated into a certain specific way of living, and then all of a sudden their purpose, which was their job, you know, they worked at the factory, and they're like, you know, Johnny's employee of the month. Johnny, you're doing a fucking great job. I really appreciate you. And that guy feels purpose. He puts in a hard day's work. When he gets that paycheck, he knows he earned it. That's who he is. He's the number one guy at the plant. He's the foreman. He's the guy the men respect. That's a real thing for human beings. We need a thing that makes us feel like we're progressing. It's a part of our DNA. Our DNA, the reason why we're still alive, the reason why we survived, is because we solve problems. We figured out what's going on. We made ourselves useful, and it makes you useful to the tribe. It makes you feel good. You have a sense of purpose. That's the guy that's the best hunter. She knows how to fucking plant vegetables. He knows how to make cloth. Everybody had a job, and it gave you a sense of purpose. We're going to have to figure this out quick, because I think it's going to be like the birth of a child. It's going to be like this screaming, painful, It's going to be this thing filled with anxiety, but it is happening whether we like it or not. And if we don't start educating children about the benefits of having a fulfilled life where you're doing something you actually enjoy, and not telling them, don't do that, it's too hard, don't do that, it's risky. Thank God I didn't listen to anybody, because my whole,
You wouldn't exist.
I would have not a thing I did ever.
Yeah.
Anybody told me to do.
Yeah.
Not fighting. My parents tried to stop me from fighting when I was doing martial arts. When I tried to do comedy, they were worried that why aren't you did so well in martial arts? Why are you quitting and doing this new thing?
Yeah.
And every fucking step of the way, when I started doing podcasts, my friends were like, what are you wasting your time doing this for?
Right, yeah.
It was all, we started doing video podcasts.
Right.
People were like, why are
Whoa,
you spending
come
so much
on.
time doing video? That's so stupid. Nobody watches video.
Yeah, everyone says no.
I was like, I don't care. I just want to do it.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sure everyone's telling Zach, no, don't quit medicine. But on that topic of purpose, like so many people in careers, I just see lack of purpose, or I guess so much of their purpose is their job. Like they get up in the morning and that's their sole identity. That's it. That's all there is to them. Being a med student is all there is to some people. Being a resident is all there is to some people, and you're not gonna find much more beyond that. So I think that's very tough. And if you go into like Zach, if you go in with the mindset that you're gonna change the world, and then you go into the job and you're actually a cog in the machine, then yeah, of course you're gonna feel like you lost your purpose. So I get it, man, but it's you're kind of entrapping yourself. But I can't blame him because he made those decisions when he was like 21, 22, when you didn't know what it is. Like you don't have realistic expectations at that time. I don't think there's anything negative of, being a cog in a machine, but I just think there's a disconnect. I really do not think anyone's going to find purpose in their job. Like your job should not be the one thing that gives you purpose. You should find purpose in your family, in helping your community, in religion. Find purpose doing something else. Like it's going to be doing something that's fun, not your job that you get paid to be there for, bro. Like, anyways, it's just let's move on to 1044. I have written down. Let's see what he was talking about here.
And that's tough. It's tough because your whole life, your whole personality, I'm going to get off this in a second and go to actually why I left. But I think this is important because it's about everything that I put into this, right? Your whole life is getting this admission to medical school. Your whole life is being a doctor. Your whole adult life is, how do I get the best scores? How do I apply the best way? How do I suck up to these people the best and get the best recommendation letters? And it doesn't change. I'll give you that. It doesn't change unless you leave. Unless you leave. Okay, back to the story. So now I still have a few more interviews. Still no acceptances, wait lists, like...
It doesn't change is for real the sentiment. Like, he's going to get onto... We're going to talk about arrival fallacy now, which is a phenomenon where you are delaying your gratification, your happiness, and your well-being for the next milestone. And it doesn't help. Sorry, I gotta text my mom back. Basically, it's all over in medicine. It's so easy to fall into that trap. Once I get into med school, once I get through medical school, once I get into residency, once I get into become an attending, there's always the next milestone to chase after, and you can just fall into that trap that, okay, I'll be happy once I get this, I'll be happy once I get that, and really 95% of your time is in the journey. Like, I'll give you an example of how I've thought about this in Ireland. I was in Ireland. I did an international medical I did medical school outside of Canada, and yeah, being in Ireland, it was tough. A lot of shitty days, but to be honest, like I thought about it like this: like I'm never gonna be this young, without a bachelor or someone without kids in Europe. And now that chapter of my life is done, I'm looking back and it's like I'm never gonna get that time back. But I'm glad I enjoyed it as much as I did. I went to the coffee shops. I tried exploring as much as possible. I tried traveling in Europe. Like, you make the most of what you're trying to do, because the next milestone is gonna bring more challenges. I'm in residency right now, and the next milestone for me is to become an attending. Yeah, I really want to become an attending, but at the same time, I'm never gonna be a resident again, where I can make mistakes or where I can actually learn how to do medicine. When I'm attending, I'm gonna have to know everything, and that's gonna become. I'm gonna have to be responsible for my team. I'm gonna have to hire a receptionist, and make sure that we're not going broke in our clinic. So there's a lot of things that come up, and that's arrival fallacy. Like, you have to be happy in the moment that you're in.
And again, you put 7, 10 years into doing this. Your whole life is doing this, and then you get it. You finally get it. And it was excitement. It was joy. I was calling every single person. They were asking me, and they said, so what did you hear back from my results? I got accepted, motherfucker, to my top favorite medical school. I'm going to be going here. I'm going to be moving here. You're going to see me. I'm going to be doing this, internalizing, blah, 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 blah. And then the excitement went away.
It always goes away.
It went away. I started to think about, how am I going to research what I want to do? How am I going to study better? What Anki flashcards am I going to do? And I wish someone hit me, slapped me, said, Zach, do you know what you went through these past 7 years? Do you know everything that you put into this? Enjoy it.
Zach, I like your...
At least
I think it's the Omega Speedmaster there. I like it, man.
a week, for God's sake. At least for a week. My mom always tells me she should have hit me more as a kid. I wish she hit me then. I wish she hit me then. Because it was... I can't believe I went there so quickly. But I did. I did. There was some excitement about where I was going to move, who my friends were that were going into the same school.
So anyways, the excitement fades, man. That's just the reality of it. Like, this is classic arrival fallacy. And you spend so much of your time... I feel like life is 95% process and 1% milestone. Like, 95% of your life is just striving to get the thing that you want. And then once you get it, you're in another process. He's completely right. Like, it's insane.
True. I love it. I love it. I'm learning what I always wanted to learn. The teachers are really cool. My classmates are so smart. They're so funny. They're intelligent. They're bright. And we're all working together to become a doctor, to change the world, to save lives. And I'm just like, this is...
It doesn't work like that, bro. It doesn't work like that.
I just love it. And the first year was like this. It was a dream state. Things were happening that I mean, we had orientation. Let's back up to the beginning. So, we had the white coat ceremony, and they said, first thing, keep everything confidential.
Wait, let's go to 21.
Stresses out about it. Everyone wants to do the best. They want to get all honors. They want to do the best scoring they can so they can do the best residency. The thinking never stops. The thinking never stops. It's always like, oh, I'll be a medical student. Oh, it'll be better when I'm a resident. It'll be better when I'm a fellow. It'll be better when I'm an attending doctor. It'll be better when I'm 10 years into my attending practice and I feel comfortable. It'll be better when I'm retired at 70 years old after practicing medicine for 40 years. And this isn't just medicine specific, right? This can apply to every career. But it's a kind of way of thinking. If this haziness keeps up with...
He's like... I'm sure other careers face this. It's just too easy to get into this. It's like you're climbing a corporate ladder, right? And to be honest, like, on the topic of purpose and all that, like, I've met so many older patients now in the hospital, long-term care. And to be honest, like, you just realize that nobody cares about what you did in your career. You're in a nursing home now. You can't control your bladder. Somebody's changing you, helping you go to the shower. Like... You had all this dignity and all the titles, the accolades and everything, and then it ends up being like, oh, now your people are pissed off about, family members not coming to see them because they're not happy with you. You spent your younger years not seeing them, focusing on your career. It's such a trap, man. Like, it's honestly a sin. And I think I've gotten much better at recognizing this, and I want to live my life differently, or at least I want to find purpose in different things. I want to find purpose in my family. I want to spend as much time with them. I want to find purpose in my future children. I want to be a good husband, a good son. I don't think you can find purpose in a job, and you can't find, like, your job is not going to give you true satisfaction. Even if it does, it will be short-lived, and by the time you're 60 or 70, nobody's gonna give a shit about what you did and how you what ended up happening. People are gonna forget, and that's what it is.
That are doing the jobs actually looking like. They were like, every resident was coming in at 4 a.m. And most residents were leaving, 9, 11 p.m. And I was starting to do math in my head, and I said, all right, it's 5 hours of sleep. Oh, you commute here an hour? Okay, 3 hours of sleep. If you eat, family, interesting. They all were drinking some form of caffeine, Monsters, Red Bulls. This one guy actually took caffeine pills every morning. I was like, that just takes the fun out of it. You can't even have a nice coffee or anything like that. And again, I don't want to take away from these people what these people were doing, because they were doing amazing things. They were very intelligent, very smart, very driven, and amazing with patients. But it was the surgery culture. I don't know if it was for me. It was a little bit of like, I showed up at 3:30 and you showed up at 4. I stayed for this extra case. And a lot of times it felt like these surgeon residents were doing these things because they felt like that's what they needed to do to look good to the other people so they could get to the next step in their career, which is this feeling that I also had. But I didn't like it. Shouldn't I be doing things because I really want to do them? I know I need to pay my dues and things like that, but isn't paying the dues, shouldn't you have fun while you're paying the dues? I mean, if I'm going to be doing this for 11 years in the beginning, shouldn't I have some enjoyment in this? Shouldn't I not sacrifice all my health, all my family time, everything else that I really hold dear in my life just for this? And that quickly became the most important question. Do you like it enough? And what are you willing to sacrifice for it? And
the sacrifice is everything. Like, you gotta sacrifice everything. Like, if you really, like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, thankfully I'm in family medicine, but this same thing happens in internal medicine too. Like, he wants to do gastroenterology later on, he tells you about it, but gastroenterology, people are taking research gap years where they do 3 years of IM and then they can take a gap year to be competitive enough to do a fellowship. Like, it takes everything from you. He's talking about surgery schedules. IM schedules are the same thing. Like, you're getting up at 8. If you have a busy service, you're not getting home till like 6, 7. You're doing 24-hour call shifts. Like, it's just like, it doesn't stop. There's always a next level. The competition is fierce. These are brilliant people. Everyone you're competing against is the top 1 percentile. And it just gets hard. So yeah, it's basically a competition of who can make the most sacrifice wins. And good luck to you if you have kids, or if you don't have the financial resources, or you don't have a good support network. Doesn't matter. Whoever can make the biggest sacrifice wins is game. And it's not because they're smarter. It's not because they just put in so much. They sacrifice everything. Their sanity even sometimes.
my mentors to this day.
All right. So I think next point I had was the reality of the system. 44. It's such a long video. I hope you guys want to go and watch it.
And I looked on the side of the chart and it said the patient's been here for 135 days. I said, how is this 135 days? I haven't even been a doctor 10% of that time. How has this person been in the hospital for 135 days? And I looked at the chart, no new medications that we're doing, no new surgeries that are upcoming, no imaging procedures, nothing we're going to have to do in the future. Why can't we get this person out of here, home, a rehab facility, something like that? And I remember asking the senior resident, I said, why can't we get this person out of here? Like, what are we doing? She's just going to keep falling. The hospital tries to stop it with wrist restraints and side rails and alarms, but people go to ground. Like, what are we going to do with this person? It's dangerous for her to still be here. And he answered me, almost like a McDonald's drive-thru attendant is telling a customer, listen, like, we're out of fries. Sorry, like, there's nothing we can do. We're just out of fries. And he said to me, yeah, well, this person has all these comorbidities. They have alcohol use disorder. Their insurance isn't really great. They're homeless. So there's really, nothing we can do. I said, so this person just stays here forever? And then he's like, well, yeah, for now. And then he's like, did you have a good learning experience from that? And I said, well, I've been here 4 days, so pretty much everything is a learning experience. And he didn't hear. He wasn't even listening, which is fine. And he said, almost like now he's the drive-thru attendant, and he's like, we can give you a free extra packet of ketchup because we have no fries. And he says, you probably didn't get much learning from that interaction. And I was like, well, I'm learning. This is all new. I just don't know. He's like, what I'll do is I'll see if we can transfer them to another service. That's good, right? We'll transfer them to another service, and then you won't have to deal with these things anymore. I said, okay. And then the patient was transferred to another service. And quickly, my first ever emergency situation that I failed dramatically in handling was transferred to another medical service. And I quickly learned that this was kind of the way a lot of things worked. There are really silly reasons why a patient might go to this service or that service. People were kicking out patients to go here, accepting patients to go here, adding on random things in the notes so the patient could be billed in a certain way or sent in a different way. And it was a lot of this stuff that wasn't about how do we make this person better. And I don't want to talk badly about it. That senior resident was amazing, by the way. He's an amazing doctor. He's going to change the world of hematology. He's a star. He's a star. And the doctors I work with, the attendings I work with, the medical school residents and attendings I work with, amazing, intelligent, compassionate, brilliant people that really, really knew their stuff, were really good with patients, and really were doing good things. They really knew what they were doing. They were doing the research. They were talking to patients forever, very detailed notes, trying to do the best for the patients. They really were. But, like this super smart resident that I was dealing with at the time, when you hit your head against a brick wall, it hurts. Passionate and excited to be there, to be a doctor. Residents and attendings I talked to and dealt with was really passionate and excited to be there, to be a doctor. And I think I'm being honestly nice with that number, of course, anecdotally. But if you look at statistics and stuff like that, you know, it's something crazy like the average is 45% of doctors would choose to do their profession again, 40% are experiencing burnout.
Yeah, man, that's a huge issue. And that drive-through example he gave, so many of the problems that we have. And first of all, I don't think going to the hospital is a place where people get well. They generally get, you know, less sick. Wellness is something that happens outside of the hospital. Hospitals are just for getting less sick and hopefully going home. If you get home from the hospital, that's, you know, you thank God and that, right? Yeah, like so many of the issues that we have in medicine are just system-based issues that you don't know what to do with. Like, what do you do with that lady who can't get out of the hospital? Now it becomes a long-term care facility. You just can't do anything. And you, no matter how smart, brilliant, amazing, compassionate, doesn't matter what you are, if you can't, like, you just can't fix the system. You're not going to start a new hospital. You're just going to do right by the patient and, you know, hope for the best. But you're there medically, you'll do everything you can, but system up, you're just someone who shows up to work. Like,
was when you were with someone and you felt like you did something good. The person would come, they'd pull you aside and they'd say, "Listen, Dr. Zach, you made me feel better. I was really, really scared when I came into this hospital. And you sat here and you talked me through what was going on in my body and my medications, and you told me everything was going to be okay. Or you told me everything."
He's talking about a patient that really appreciated him.
Wasn't going to be okay, but you were honest with me. And that felt really good. And I'm really grateful that you were here to talk to me for this. And I was like, oh, this feels good. This is what it's meant to be like. I get that warm, fuzzy feeling. And it's not just from, you know, someone liking
I swear, we live and die for this warm, fuzzy feeling that he's talking about here.
a video or sending me a nice letter, but it's a real person in a really, really bad time. And in their moment of extreme vulnerability, extreme fear, extreme sadness, I was able to be the light in their darkness. I was able to pull them out of that deep and dark well. And that felt good. That felt really, really good. And I can't put it to words, really. I can't. You kind of have to experience it. However, and we're finally getting to the meat of it here, I promise. The times that happened was maybe 5% of the time. Maybe 5% of the time. 95% of the time was spent on electronic medical records, insurance, dealing with difficult administration, dealing with difficult patients. And I didn't mind the patient's part so much. But a lot of it was stuff that I didn't think being a doctor was.
He's so right. Like 95% of your time in being a doctor is just a lot of paperwork. It's just incredible amount of admin and doing stuff that you actually were never even trained to do because you were in med school and you never had to deal with it. It's only when you become a doctor you realize, okay, this is 95% of your time goes into not even just admin stuff, and it's tough. So I completely feel him. So we're just gonna wrap it up. I think he goes into why, like the quick answer part of why he quit at this point here.
Why did I make the decision? Well, really, it came down to the good, the bad, and the ugly of residency and the way I was feeling. So the good, the bad, and the ugly of residency. The good was the camaraderie, the patience, and this constant like growth and improvement mindset. I really loved that about residency. The bad of residency was the sacrifices you make to time, fitness, general life, and also some of the administration kind of BS. A lot of the BS is the bad, basically, that 95% which I talked about. Now the ugly, and maybe people will disagree, maybe this should just be bad or ugly, but this is the ugly, in my opinion. The ugly is the destruction of brilliance. And that sounds really profound. And what are you saying? Are you brilliant and you're leaving so you can not destroy your brilliance? No, I'm not brilliant. I don't think I'm brilliant in any way. But there were brilliant people there. There were brilliant residents. There were brilliant fellows. There are brilliant medical students. And some of them squeeze through, but many of them are they're just destroyed. I don't know how else to say it. They're destroyed. They get smaller as humans. They don't have exciting thoughts anymore. They sigh. We have to do this. We have to do this. When just 6 months ago, a year ago, when I knew them, they were going to change the world. They were going to change the world, and I believed them. I did believe them. And they're way smarter than me. And they've done many more amazing things than me. But they were crushed. I don't know how to explain it. Again, it's really anecdotal, but there were just these people that were just ground down. And maybe that's life. It might not just not be medicine. It might be just going into something that you're not that into, but that was the saddest thing for me. That was the ugliest thing. Is seeing these really good people just get crushed. That was the worst. But again, it's not everyone. Some manage to pass through, and again, there's those 25% of doctors, I think, that really manage to stick with it. They keep the good attitude. That's the Dr. Okasanya. He's at the top.
Yeah, I mean, I get what he's saying, and he made a comment about this. I don't think I shared it. Was he didn't want to become a zombie. Like, yeah, you take all of these high achieving students that have next level extracurriculars that. You make them write out how they want to change the world over and over again for interviews and what their great plans are, and then they come into medical school and then go into residency, and you kind of lose a little bit of who you are. I think of medicine and residency and med school like going into the army. Everyone's like different, and the problem is that medicine selects for people that are different, that are very high functioning, that do lots of things, and then they kind of put them through med school, and it's like going through the army. So you take all these different variants, all these high functioning people, put them through an army like structure where there's a hierarchy, where there's rank and profile. Like, there really is. You're a med student, you're at the bottom, then you get some seniority with senior med student, and then you get into residency, so you're year 1, year 2. It's like going from private to corporal to lieutenant to whatever else is going on, and you lose a bit of yourself with that. Like, the shine in people's eyes kind of fade, and I don't know if maybe it's not like this with maybe it's like this with other careers. To be honest, I have a feeling it's probably like this with other careers, but in other careers, you don't have such a high functioning of such a 1 percentile people going into them to begin with. Like, in other careers, they might have the same thing, but you're dealing with about, an average person. In medicine, you're taking an above average person and then making them into someone that's like corporate. It's hard to explain. It's like thinking of making someone like corporate. Like, all of a sudden, they have a brand, they have an identity, they can't be different from anyone else. There's no conflict. If there's a conflicting of views, or all of a sudden it's a controversy, you now represent a whole organization, you represent all the associations that you're tied with, you represent your clinic, your hospital, your university. All of a sudden you can't look bad, and people that are different just get crushed. Like, you still have really brilliant people, but all of a sudden it's like this, everyone starts talking diplomatically, you all become one and the same, nobody wants to push the boundary of things. It's kind of how it goes. So I get it, man. Anyways, Zach, I think I'm gonna wrap up. Like, if you're watching this, good luck to you. I'm happy for you. It seems like you made the right decision there, and best of luck. I think you gotta embrace uncertainty to, you gotta risk something to win, and you're risking a lot right now, and you're gonna be embracing uncertainty. You're doing something that people are telling you no to, and it's just like, hopefully there's something at the end of it, and you make it, and you make something else work. So anyways, we're gonna look forward to your YouTube videos and what else you end up doing. Best of luck. Thank you to everyone that has watched up to this point. I know it's a long video and I didn't want to make it a long video, but I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.